Hey Ed, but your crumbs were animating. Crumbs, why is ours not? That's because I forgot about it. I'm not gonna lie. So let's put in the crumb animation. Let's go here. I just looked at it. I'm like, whilst I was recording this video, like something is a bit off. Something's not happening. I feel like something should happen. Yep, forgot to animate the crumbs. So after we run this whole thing, I want the cookie to do a little jump and the crumbs to animate. So let's get that going. Let's go back here. It's going to be really simple, actually. I'm going to add a little comment here. So let's just kind of organize everything. So this section here is fading the cookie out. And this section here is going to be our timeline. Okay, let's do cookie jump here. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to do TL again from to. We're going to grab the cookie just like that. Add a comma. And what I want to do is basically move it up and down. So I want it to start from y0 and go to y minus 20. Again, minus 20 is going to make it go up. And hit save. So let's see. Where's my Chrome? Let me open up Chrome. There we go. Boop. And it does a jump and it stays there forever. So we don't want that. We want it to keep coming back up and down over and over again. So how do we do that? Well, we can add a comma here. We can say yo-yo true. And that's literally going to go like a yo-yo. And then what we also need to define is a repeat. So how many times do we want this to go up and down? So I can say 2, for example. Bam, bam, and that's it. Now, if you want it to go forever, you can do -1, and that's going to loop indefinitely. Bam. There we go. That's really cool. Now, what I also want to do is add a little bit of rotation to this. So I'm just going to hit here, add a comma, say rotation from 0 degrees. And here, I'm just going to say rotation, something like 10 degrees. We'll see how that looks. Hit save. There we go. I actually want it to go the other way. So let's do minus here. Minus, let's do 20. And there we go. There's a little jumpy jump. That's really cool. Now, I also want to do this thing to the crumbs. So let's see how we selected the crumbs. Again, we exported through, we did an export through Figma. So I believe we used an ID here. So let's see where it is. So crumbs. Okay, so let's just select it. We can actually just pretty much copy paste everything over that we have up here. So this last line. So just copy, paste it. I need to like that. We'll keep everything the same. Change this to hashtag crumbs. I'll get rid of the rotation. We not really want to rotate anything here. I guess you can keep it, see if it looks cool. I'll just do a little wave movement here, and that's it. So hit save, and look at that. Now they're out of sync, so I want them to go at the same time. So again, the way we can do that is comma, and add the symbol here. Save, and there we go. Has a little jump. Now, as you can see, it cuts off there actually, like that. So that has to do with the way our SVG is, unfortunately. So we can go here and just modify some things here. I think we can get rid of this whole clip path here and see if that fixes our issue. So get rid of that clip path, hit save. Let's see. It's better, but not good enough. There might be another clip path here somewhere. So unfortunately, that cuts everything off for us. Let me see here. Should be able to find it. These SVGs are a bit of a nightmare. Let me scroll through and see if I can find it. Okay, so here's the problem actually. If you open up inspect element, let me zoom in here for you so you can see. If we select the SVG, so it's actually going outside of that SVG container like that. So that's why it's going away. So all you need to do is really add an overflow visible on the SVG and then it should be fine. So go back here, find the cookie, here's the cookie, add an overflow visible, and you should be all good to go. And there it is. That's our finished animation. Let's hit refresh, watch it again. Boom, there we go. All right, now we're officially moving on to the next chapter. I'm happy. See you there. Hello and welcome to chapter 3 where we're going to cover text animations. So we're going to have this little slide out animation here with the text like that. And also here we're going to learn how to animate each individual text using Stagger and GSAP. So let's go. Hope you're excited. Let's start setting up the file now. So I'll head over here to VS Code. This is an empty folder that I just made again. And I just found this image of Pexels. Feel free to use any. Yeah, that looks okay. So let's go here and set up the index.html. Like that, hit Shift and Tab. And then we're gonna name this text animations. Perfect. So now what we need to do is you can import the font again if you wish to. So again, just pop-ins. I'm copy pasting everything over from the last one. I'll make my style sheet here like that. Go back here and link that up as well. And finally add the app.js. Link that up and we just need to import GSAP in and we are ready to go. So app.js in there, and then from cdn.js I'm gonna copy over the GSAP library. So let's paste that up there, hit save, and that should be it. We'll just remove the margins and paddings in the style CSS to have everything all ready. Okay, there we go. So again, pretty much do this on all the projects. So I guess you could just copy paste this over from the previous one. So I'll just add pop-ins in here, sans serif, and we are ready to go. Okay, so that's our file structure. Let's start adding the HTML and the styles. See you there. Okay, let's start putting together our HTML and our CSS. So let's head over here. And what we're gonna do essentially is, let's see here, we're gonna create this nav bar here. And this little bubble, which is essentially just an image that changes its scale. And then this text here, what we're gonna do, if you can see here, they kind of pop out from, looks like out of nowhere. So what essentially this is just a H2, and in the H2 we have a span. And what we do is we add overflow hidden to the H2. So when we shift over the text to the right, it's gonna look like it's invisible. So it's a good way to easily mask a text. So let's set this up quickly. Let's go over to the body. So again, I'm just gonna keep this nav simple. Just have a nav with a H1 of logo, and I'm gonna say skin care. And hit save. Okay, puppy's very thirsty now. We're gonna create a hero section down here, and essentially this is where our image goes in. So dots, yeah, source is gonna be /. We're gonna grab that hero PNG, JPEG, GPG. I don't know what I wanted to say there, and then add a class of hero image. Okay. And hit save. Don't make fun of me in the comments. Thank you very much. Okay, so in here, we're also going to add a call to action div, and this is going to hold our text and our button. So essentially here, we're going to split this up into 2 more divs because I want to animate them individually. So as you can see, we have, this is going to be one of our sections. So I'm going to name this CTA text, and this is going to be another CTA text. So as you can see, they're animating in at different speeds. So that's mainly the only reason why I'm splitting them up. and adding different class names to them in just a bit. So CTA text, hit tab, and in here, I'm going to have a h2 like this with a span that's going to have a class of CTA1. And again, I'm just going to add different class names to them so I can animate them individually. So I'm going to call this 1. And then I'm going to just duplicate this 2 more times. How do I duplicate it 2 more times? That's not the one. There's a shorthand command, which I totally forgot now. So I'm just going to Control C and paste this 2 more times. I'm going to change this to stop, this one to shop. And I'm going to add CTA2 here and CTA3 here. Okay. And I'm just going to duplicate this whole section 1 more time. Down here, just add 4, 5, 6. Again, only reason just so I can just so I can grab them in GSAP and animate them. Okay, so next up, we'll just add the button. So that's gonna PH and a bit of margin on the left and right side. So top and bottom is going to have 0% and left and right is going to have 10%. Now this image is extremely large, so what I need to do is grab it and just set the width and height to it to 100% so it scales to the hero section. So hero section image, like that. And I'm just going to add a width and height of 100%. Okay. Width 100 and height 100. Perfect, hit save. Now that looks okay. The problem with this is since we're forcing it to have a specific aspect ratio, it's when we're resizing it, you might have this squishiness going on here and the image is not gonna look scaled properly. So as you can see, if I go like that, look at that, that looks horrible. So to fix this issue, all you need to do is add an object fit of cover. And what's that gonna do is initially gonna keep the image's aspect ratio and it's just gonna zoom it in so it doesn't look stretched out. So object fit and do cover on this and hit save. So now take a look when I rescale this As you can see, it does not mess with it. Perfect. So next up, let's grab the CTA, which is our text section essentially. And what I want to do with this is just place it on top here. So we're going to use position absolute. Position absolute. We're going to do top 50 and left 50 to put it in the middle, like that. And now all I need to do is to shift it over by 50% using transform and translate. -50, -50. And hit save. We're going to change the color to white. Like that. And we're going to add a display flex, a flex direction of column, and an align items of center. And hit save. So there we go. Now what I need to do is take the CTA texts and just add a display flex on it because they're all in a column now. So CTA text, display flex, and change the font size to 2 rem. So there we go. That's pretty close already. So next up, what I want to do is I want to target the span now and just add a bit of padding to them. So CTA text span, I'm going to change the padding to 0.4 rem on the left and right side to separate the text a little bit like that. Perfect. Next up, I want to add a little bit of a text shadow here. So text shadow, I'm going to do RGBA. So this is the color of it. So 000 is going to be black and 0.4 is going to be the opacity there. And next up, we have the direction. So the first one is going to be the X. The next one is going to be the Y. And the next one is going to be the blur. So essentially, I want it to be right on top of the text with a 20 pixels of blur, just to separate it a bit from the background. All right, and that's it. Then we're going to grab the CTA button, and I'm going to add a margin of 1 rem to that. Hit save, and just add a bit of styling to the button to not make it look ugly. So 0.5 rem on the padding and 2 rem. So there it is. Get rid of the borders. Change the color to white. So background white. Font family. We're going to do Poppins. There we go. Border radius. I'm going to do 0.3 rem. Change the color of it to that RGB that we used before, which is the 33, 33, 33. And that should be it. I'll remove the border, place that to none, and hit save. And that's what we have. I guess what we can do is just change the font size and make it a little bit smaller. 0.7 rem should look just fine. So there we go. So that's all the setup that we need here. Yeah, that's literally all the CSS. So we can start animating this in the next episode. See you there. Yeah. Okay, so let's get the JavaScript set up and going. So let's head over to app.js. The first thing I'm going to do is create one of those timelines again. So const tl and set this equal to gsap.timeline. And again, here this takes in a curly bracket with defaults and another curly bracket where we can define a duration. We're going to set that to 0.75 and also an easing here, which I'm going to do powertree.out or ease out. Something like that. It should be fine. I think it was power tree. Let's just make sure it's correct. I always mess up the uppercasing and lowercase letters on these. So gsap, let's search up eases. There we go. So first link here. We'll go over to power tree. Yeah, so it's all lowercase powertree.out. Lovely. That's fantastic. So we'll head back here to the code. Now that we have our timeline ready, the first thing I want to do is actually scale that image up on our screen. So if we take a look at the finished animation, the image starts off full screen and then it fades, it becomes smaller and does a little bounce. So let's head back here. So we're going to target the hero image. So TL from 2, grab the hero image. And we're going to increase the scale by default to 1.3. Just if it doesn't fill it up for you, just increase this number a little bit more or decrease it so it fits the whole screen. 1.3 is fine for me. And then I'm going to add a border radius and put this to 0 rem because I also want to curve the edges of it. All right, so that's 1. And the second property here is going to be scale to 1. So I'm going to scale it back to the initial one and add a bit of border radius to it. I'm going to do 2 rem. I'm also going to add a bit of delay so it doesn't start instantly. And the duration for this is going to be much bigger, 2.5 seconds. So let's take a look at this. Now, why did I do such a big duration? Usually when you apply these elastic easings, they make everything go really quick. So you essentially need to either double or triple your duration on it. So for this one, we're going to use an ease of elastic dot out. I'm going to do 1.5 comma 1. All right. So basically 1 here, it's only going to jump back once. It's not going to do that strong of an elastic effect. So there we go. That looks pretty nice. Perfect. So now that we have that going, it's all about taking these different texts and animating them in at different times. So it's going to be a lot of TL from 2s. So TL from 2, but thankfully we can just duplicate them and make it quite simple. So I'm going to say X 110. So, and opacity 0 to X 0. So moving it back to its initial position, and opacity 1. So let's see what that does. So as you can see, it just fades in right now. Now, why does it not move from left to right? Well, the CT1 that we're targeting is actually a span. So the X and Y values are not going to work on it. So what we need to do is change the type of display on the span. So we need to go up here to where we have CT text span. Actually, yeah, here. And just add a display block to it. And hit save. So let's take a look now. If we refresh, now we can move it left and right, up and down. And remember, if you have a span and you try to add a height to it, that's not going to work either. So make sure you add a display block to it. Okay, another thing though is it's not hidden. It doesn't get cut off by the H2. So what we need to do is add an overflow hidden to the CTA text. I'm not targeting the CTA text H2, so let's just grab it, H2, and add an overflow of hidden to it. Remember, these are stacked up together. So now if we refresh, there we go, it just slides out from there. Perfect. And essentially, the way I picked this 110 here is I just increased this number until it was fully masked. So if I go over here to our code and I just remove the opacity just so you can see what's going on. So I'll do opacity 1 to opacity 1. And if I decrease this by, I'll do 50, x50. As you can see, it's cutting off half of it. So I'm just going to increase this to like 110 or so. I guess we could also do here 100% like this. Make sure you add it in quotation marks. There we go. That's probably a better idea. So do that. Do it now. I'm going to do 0 here. So from opacity 0, let's see how that looks. Again, experiment with it. Maybe you can do 0.5 because it's faded out anyway. Just whatever your preference is. Okay, we're going to keep it like that. So let's duplicate this a couple more times. Actually, before I do that, what I want to do is the text to start coming in a bit quicker. Because the animation lasts for so long, we have to wait for this to wiggle around here for 10 minutes, and then the text comes in. So what I'm going to do is just add a comma here and say less than 20%. So 20% in the previous animation, this is going to start running. So if we refresh now, as you can see, it starts coming out quite quick. So I'm just going to basically duplicate this a couple more times. 1, 2, 3. And I'm actually going to do CT3 here, which is our middle one, and then CT2 here, and hit save like that. Okay, because I want this to come out last. So here, let's see. So for CT3, I'm just going to add minus here for it to go in the opposite direction. And for this one, I just want Y. So I'm going to change it to Y, Y, and hit save. So there we go. Perfect. So now we can just pretty much duplicate everything again. So all of these three down here, and just change it to CT4, CT6, because that's the middle one, and CT5. And that should be fine. Hit save. Let's see, and there we go. We also need to update the text here. I left one stop shop twice. So let's do one stop shop and update this to perfect skin and hit save. That looks much better. All right, last but not least, we have to do the button. So for that, all I'm gonna do is just fade it up. Just keep it simple. You don't want to do too many wacky, especially in this case. This is quite a bit of animation already, so I don't want to do wacky stuff with the button anymore. So let's head back here, go to app.js, target the button. So TL from to, we'll do CTA button. We'll do a Y20, so we'll push it down initially and fade it out using opacity 0. And then just bringing it back to its original position and bringing up the opacity to 1. All right, add a comma here. And I basically want to add a smaller than symbol to sync up this animation with this. All right, so they're gonna finish at the same time. So hit refresh, let's take a look. And there we go. That looks pretty cool, doesn't it? And last but not least, in the next episode, we are gonna do the individual character animation in. So that's gonna be quite cool. Okay, see you there. This has been a long video, so take a little break. Okay, so finally, all we need to do is to animate these characters one by one here. Now there is a plugin that greensock has called Split Text Animation. Unfortunately, for the both of us, it's paid. So if you go here to GSAP products, should be somewhere here, the Club greensock. Okay, so they have specific plugins that are paid. They're really, really good. I'm not gonna lie. So if we go here to view features, there's Draw SVG plugin, which is really cool, Morph SVG. So essentially you could take two SVG shapes and just add a from to, and it's gonna transition to it like this. I think they have an example down here, and here we go. So essentially you take a circle SVG and you morph SVG and you just add the other SVG and boom, you get the full on animation. Like that simple kind of stuff. Really, really awesome. And they also have one called Split Text, which essentially, let me go back to it, lets you animate characters in one by one. Where was that example? Let me see if I can, here we go. So let's see, let's scroll down here to an example. Stuff like this, right? Just animating in character by character. But since it's paid, we're gonna do it for free. We're gonna do it vanilla style by flexing our JavaScript skills essentially. So let's go over to our code here. I'll pop open my VS Code here and the Chrome thing, and let's get going. Okay, so essentially what I want to do is let's go down here and I'll add a little comment called split text alternative. Now, if you have the dough and you want to spend it, you don't need to do this, but here we go. So essentially what I'm going to do is grab the logo. I'm going to do a document.query selector, grab the logo like that. And what I want to do is basically split up all the characters in here. So SKINCARE dot, right? So one way we can do that is I'm going to make a const letters here and say logo.textContent. Now what text content does is literally gives you the text, because document.query selector just grabs the DOM node, basically, DOM element. So text content grabs the actual text from the H2 or H1. And on this, I can add a split with some empty parentheses in here. And that's essentially going to split up all the characters and add them to an array. So if I console log out letters now and hit save, let's go back here. I'm going to view inspect element and just go over to console. As you can see, it gives us an array with all the characters split. Perfect. So now all we need to do is loop over each letter. So I'm going to say letters.forEach. And in here, I'll have access to each individual one. So if I do a console log letter, hit save. Let me open this one up again. So take a look at that. So it's like a loop that loops over each character. Boop, 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 like that. What I want to do here is say logo.inner HTML, set that equal to, and what I'm going to do is do backticks, which is command, well, let me see where my backticks are. Actually, we can just do normal quote marks, that's fine too. I'm going to add a span in here, like this, with a class of letter, like that. Now, actually, that causes us issues, right? Because we have the quotation marks. So we can switch this to a single one, like that, and that's going to be fine. So span class letter, and here I'm just going to add a plus symbol like that. I'm going to add the letter in, right? So the SKI, the skincare, one by one. And then I'm going to add another plus and just close up that span like that. Okay, let's take a look what that did. If we go over to elements and inspect that logo, we just have the dot. Now, why is that? As you can see, just the dot. Well, we're essentially looping through it and updating it every time we loop over it. So we go through the loop, we set the logo inner HTML to S first, and then when it does another loop, it gets rid of the S and just changes it to the K. So what we can do is we can add a plus symbol here before the equal sign, which is going to add them together. So now when we hit save, as you can see, we have two skincares. So if we go over to console and look at this, so we have our original one and we have another one that is generated with spans. So that's really cool. So now essentially what we need to do is get rid of the original one. So that's quite simple. We just need to do logo.textContent, set it equal to an empty pair of strings, and that's going to get rid of the original one and just keep the one with the spans like that. Perfect. So again, what we're doing is we're grabbing the letters and then we're clearing the actual HTML, H1, and then we're adding it down here with the spans. Okay, super cool. So now all we need to do is, first of all, I need to do a gsap.set in here and grab all the letters. So all the elements that have a letter class, which we just generated, and add a display of inline block to them. Inline block. And again, the reason why we're doing this is we cannot animate the height. So if we do Y and we want to move it up and down, it's not going to work with the span. So always change the display size on them. So inline block. Okay. So after we do that, now all we need to do is do a gsap from to, and then grab the letters. So let's do, actually, we don't even technically need to do these in here. We can just do it outside because we don't need to loop over them. GSAP is going to grab all the letters off the page. So it might be actually a better idea to do it outside here. So let's paste that down there. and then do a gsap from to, and if I do dot letter here, it should just grab all of them. And I'll do a y30 to a y0. Okay, now that's gonna do it all at the same time. So let's see if that works. As you can see, all of them have an inline block, and it animates. It's just we cannot see it because of the image. So we'll add a small delay to this, delay of 2 seconds. And there we go, moves up. Now it doesn't do it individually, so each individual letter. So all we need to do is add a stagger to it. Let's do a stagger of 0.1, for example, and hit save. Doop, 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 doop. And there you go. That's the way to do it. I'll lower the stagger. I'll do 0.05 or so and hit save. And there we go. How simple is that? Just use a split on it and then generate spans, and then you can animate it one by one. So I found that to be quite an easy solution. I think it looks quite good. So let's see what else we can do here. Since these are spans now, so this H1 here, right? We can add an overflow hidden to it to make the text pop up out of nowhere. So let's go up to the logo and just add an overflow hidden. Hit save. Let's see. Refresh. That's actually a H1, I believe. Where did I add the overflow hidden? Did I do it here? I think this also needed overflow hidden anyway. Let me see the logo. Here we go. Overflow hidden. Hit save. And there we go. Look at that. Roop. Nice pop-in effect. Lovely. So let's optimize this a bit more. I think we can just go over here. Let's see if this works. If we do a Y of 100% and hit save. Let's see. Does that... Yeah, that seems to be working just nicely. Okay, so we'll do from Y minus 100% to 0. Oh, my apologies. Let me pull up the code here. Actually, I haven't done it. I did it on my other screen, unfortunately. Yeah, overflow hidden. That's good. I did it on my other screen. I'm like, why is that not working? So overflow hidden there. And let's see here. Y 100% here. My apologies. Didn't do it on the right screen. That's silly of me. So there we go. And this is the finished one, right? So we're almost there. There we go. What else do we need to do? Let's make this staggering. We'll keep the stagger. Let's add a different ease to it. I found this ease back out 3 looks pretty good. It does a bounce. See, it kind of bounces a bit above and then comes down. Looks a bit cartoony, but I do like it. Looks quite funny. Perfect. So that's about it. We fixed up everything. Animation has been taken care of. Maybe this font size can be changed a bit smaller, this logo. Maybe something like 0.8. Maybe 1. It's too small. There we go. Just to make it a bit more. There we go. That's quite cool. I like that. So that's it. Hope you enjoyed this little episode. Hope everything was clear. Let's move on to our next chapter. See you there.